have to keep up. Just please, 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 please follow the schedule. Okay? Okay, here we go. So today is geometric sequences. Last time was arithmetic. So arithmetic is when you add the same thing over and over, okay? And geometric is when you multiply the same number over and over, okay? So look at this first one right here. Hey, did we highlight this, that it's going to be on the final? We did, right? And was it a times what? Can anybody tell me? No time. Remember we went through and highlighted the sections?
I don't have it.
You don't have it highlighted at all? Well, I've got it right here in front of me. Yeah. I don't either. So, could be, but maybe not. Okay. Okay. What do I multiply by 2 to get 16? That would be a 3. Is 6 times 3 18? Yes. So, right here, I want you to go R equals 3. That means the ratio is 3. That's the number that you're multiplying by. Okay. So, if you go 18 times 3, you get 54. 54 times 3 is 162. 162 times 3 is 486. Okay. Okay. Okay, so look at the next one. Don't look at the signs. Actually, look at the signs. Let's look at the signs first, and then let's look at the number second. So positive, negative, positive. What do you think the next one's going to be? Negative. The only thing that's going to cause that is if your ratio is a what? If it's a negative, okay? So now I want you to forget about the signs. We figured out the sign, okay? Now I notice that the numbers are getting smaller, 32, 16, and 8. What do I do to 13 to get, 32 to get 16? You don't have to tell me multiply. Just tell me what I do. Divided by 2, right? 16 divided by 2 is 8. 8 divided by 2 is 4. 4 divided by 2 is 2. 2 divided by 2 is a 1. So there are your numbers. Okay, my pen's being so weird. So there are your numbers. I can see the signs are alternating. I can see I'm dividing by 2. But the R is not what you're dividing by. The R is what you're multiplying by. So dividing by 2 is the same thing as multiplying by, tell me, 1/2. Exactly right. So your ratio is a negative 1/2. Good. Okay, we're going to figure out the formula. Look right here, guys. First you have an A. A times R to the first. A times R to the second. A times R to the third. So this is going to be A times R to the, talk to me, fourth. And then A times R to the fifth. And then A times, the very last one would be A times R to the, what would I put? Well, is it N? Actually, I don't want to even answer that question. We're going to answer it right now, but it's going to take a second. So right here, N is 1. Right here, N is 2. Right here, N is 3. Right here, N is 4. And right here, N is 5. And right here, N is 6. Okay? So the formula for A sub N, they all have an A to the first, right? So we're going to go A. Then that's going to be multiplied by R to some power. But it's not to the N. Because if it was, then this one right here would be R squared. And it's not, it's first. This would be R to the third, and it's not, it's second. So the 1 gives you a 0 for an exponent. R to the 0 just means 1. The 2 gives you a 1. The 3 gives you a 2. The 4 gives you a 3. So my exponent is, tell me everybody, N minus 1. You're exactly right. Okay. Take your highlighter, and I want you to highlight that. And that's the third formula that you have to have memorized for sequences. Okay, off to the side, I want you to write specific term. So if they give you a sequence and they say find the 10th term, then this is the formula that you're going to use. Okay, now we're going to go through what they stand for. A sub N equals A, R, and I want you to put N as well. This is why people miss it. They don't know what things stand for. Every person in this room, tell me what A stands for. The first term. Let's write that down. I haven't told you the technical name for the R. I told you it's what you stand for, what you multiply by, I mean, okay? So the R stands for the common ratio. Just like D was the common difference last time I saw you. A sub N, what does that stand for? It's the last term. Yep, let's write that down. The last term. It also has another meaning, another way to interpret it. The nth term is exactly right. Yep. Okay. What does n stand for? The number of terms. Yep.
Nth term the same thing as the last term?
It could be used in different ways. So if you've got, I'm going to answer your question in a second. Is that okay? Okay. Okay, let's keep going. Show that this is geometric, find A and find R. If you have a question that says show that it's geometric, don't show. I'm not doing that anymore. Let's just say the sequence is geometric. Okay? Find A and find R. Well, guys, in order to see what I'm multiplying by, I need to write a few out. So let's go. A sub 1 is 3 times 1, which is 3. A sub 2 is 3 times 2, which is 9. A sub 3 is 3 times 3, which is 27. Now I'm going to look at what I'm multiplying by. What do I multiply by 3 to get 9? That would be a 3. Is 9 times 3 27? Yes. So I know my R is a 3. And the A, what does the A stand for again, everybody? First term. And my first term is a 3. That's my answer, and I'm done. That easy. Okay? Question 2. Find the first 5 terms and the 15th term if A is 3 and the common ratio is a 2. Okay, so let's do this. A sub 1, A sub 2, A sub 3, A sub 4, and A sub 5. A is the same thing as A sub 1, which means the first term. So that's a 3. The common ratio is 2. So that means I'm multiplying by 2. So 3 times 2 is 6. 6 times 2 is 12. 12 times 2 is 24. 24 times 2 is 48. So there are my first 5 terms. And like I told you last time, I think I would write that as a sequence. I don't think that they would take points off. I just feel like it's more proper if you write it as a sequence. Okay? That's all you have to do. Find the first 5 terms. So we're done with that. Okay? City. Oh, and the 15th term. Thank you. I'm like, that was really fast. Okay, 15th term. So your formula for a specific term for geometric is A sub n equals A times R to the n minus 1. So A sub 15 is the first one, which is a 3. In parentheses, I want you to put a 2, and it's raised to the 15 minus 1, which is 14. Okay? Okay, so grab your calculator and go 3 parentheses 2, close it off, raise it to the 14th, and you get 49,152, and we're done. Okay? Example 3. Find the 8th term. So then you say, okay, everybody stop right here. If this shows up on your final, the first thing you're going to do, okay, if you're writing, I want you to stop because you're missing what I'm saying. If this is on the final, what's the first thing I want you to do? Say it again. Determine if it's arithmetic or geometric, because we don't know, right? Well, 9 times what gives you 3? Well, first of all, I would do this. I'd say 9 minus 6 is 3. Is 3 minus 6 1? No. So it's not arithmetic. Then I go, okay, then it must be geometric. I'm dividing by 3. 9 divided by 3 is 3. 3 divided by 3 is 1. But I can't say divided by 3. I'm going to say multiplied by, talk to me, 1/3. Good. So now I'm going to write down the word geometric because I just figured out that it's geometric. And then they say 8th term. So then I'm going to write down the formula for a specific term if it's geometric, which is A times R to the n minus 1. Okay, so find the 8th term. So it's A sub 8 is the first term, which is a 9, times the common ratio, which is 1/3. Put that in parentheses. Raised to the 8 minus 1, which is 7. Okay, now I'm going to show you a beautiful trick on your calculator. So every person in this room is going to want to have your calculator in your hand. Okay, everybody go 9 parenthesis 1 divide 3 close parenthesis, raise it to the 7th, hit enter. Okay, If you write 0.004, are you going to get credit? No. Okay. But what you're going to do now is you're going to go hit second, then hit PRB, and then hit enter, and the calculator tells you that that is 1 over 243. Am I right? Did it work? Okay, so second PRB is your friend. Okay. Okay, now we're going to do the sum of a geometric sequence. So my box is a little off. It's a little messed up. Sorry about that. Here's your formula. Okay, if you're trying to add a sequence together and it's geometric, I want you to take your pencil and I want you to add parentheses right here around the R. If you don't put parentheses around the ratio, it could cause big problems. Okay, so the sum of the first n terms is A, everybody write down first term. R stands for the common ratio. And n stands for the number of terms being added. Okay? All right, so let's look at example 4. Find the sum of the first n terms. Okay, so this gets a little tricky with fractions, so you have to be careful. Okay? First of all, let's figure out if it's arithmetic or geometric. So a sub 1, a sub 2, a sub 3. So look at the formula. If n is a 1, then you have a 1/2 to the first power, which is 1/2. And then if n is a 2, that's 1/2 squared in parentheses. That's 1 squared, which is 1. 2 squared is 4. Then 1/2 to the third power. 1 to the third is 1. 2 to the third is an 8. What do I multiply by 1/2 to get 1/4? 1/2. Is 1/4 times 1/2 1/8? Yes. Let me tell you something. If you have something in parentheses raised to the n, that stuff in your parentheses is going to be your ratio. So I could have looked at it and just figured out that my ratio was 1/2. Okay? Now I'm going to find the sum. So the formula is S sub n equals A. Then I'm going to do a bracket because it's going to get complicated. 1 minus r to the n over 1 minus r, like that. So let's put it all in. The sum of the first n terms. Everybody highlight the word n terms, draw an arrow to it, and what are we going to say now for the third time? Thank you so much. N in your answer. Because they didn't say find the sum of the first 42 terms or whatever. I don't know what n is. Okay, this is tricky, so everybody watch. S sub n is the first term, which is 1/2. Then I'm going to do a bracket. 1 minus, write down your 1/2, raise it to the nth power over 1 minus 1/2. Now, everybody look forward and listen super carefully, okay? I've done something wrong. Can you tell me what I've done wrong? Go ahead. Yeah, and why do I have to do that, Caden? Do you know? What is the difference between this and this? That's what I want to know.
Well, the negative will go to the 1/2 after you do the exponent.
What do you mean negative? Because I don't see a negative. Sorry.
In the equation, since it's negative 1/2, 1 minus 1/2, you use parentheses and do the exponent first, and then you do the negative after.
Okay, so you're right that you do the negative after, but that's not why I need a parenthesis. That's not why. Hannah?
Because if you put it in your calculator, 1 over, like 1/2 to the n is different than 1 over 2.
How is it different though? Why is it different?
Like the n will go to the 2 instead of the 1.
The n right here only applies to the 1.
Or,
Here the n applies to both the 1 and the 2. They're both raised to the nth. And they do both need to be raised to the nth. So I'm going to go parentheses. Okay? Okay, what I'm about to do is difficult. So I want you to watch closely right here. Okay? This is not the answer. There's more that I can do. Can anybody see what I can do? You can't put it in your calculator because you don't know what n is. You know what I mean? Look at the bottom. What is 1 minus 1/2? You have one pizza, you eat half of your pizza. How much do you have left? Half, right? So that's really 1/2. So I'm really dividing by 1/2. Well, dividing by 1/2 is the same thing as multiplying by, tell me, 2 over 1. So I have to knock that thing out. Then I have to take my 1/2 and flip it upside down. And I have to multiply the whole thing by 2 or 2 over 1. Now, those of you who struggle with fractions, this is going to be tough. Look at this right here. You've got a 2 on the top and a 2 on the bottom. Those cancel out. Or another way to think about it is, what is 2 times 1/2? Tell me that. It's just 1. Those cancel out. Or you think I got a 2 on the bottom, 2 on the top. That's going to go away. So your final answer is S of n is 1 minus 1/2 to the n power, like that. Okay? And you must simplify that. Okay? Yes, honey?
When you make it the 1/2 on the bottom, can't you just cancel with 1/2 outside?
You know, you can't.
What is that?
I don't think you can, because the 1/2 is not technically on the top. The 1 is on the top and the 2 is on the bottom. Okay. Okay, let's do 5a. Find the sum of the sequence. Okay, first of all, is it and find the first 6, or find the sum of the first 6 terms. Okay, so look what I do. 27 subtract 18 is 9. Is 9 subtract 18 3? No, it's not arithmetic. So then I go, okay, it must be geometric, and my numbers are getting smaller. So 27 divided by 3 is 9. 9 divided by 3 is a 3. So dividing by 3 is the same thing as multiplying by a third. Okay? Find the sum of the first 6 terms. So everybody go, S of n is equal to a, 1 minus r to the n over 1 minus r. There's my formula. So the sum of the first, how many terms, everybody? 6. So my n is a 6, is equal to first term, which is a 27. Then I'm going to make that parenthesis a bracket because it's going to get complicated. So it's 1 minus, in parentheses, 1/3 raised to the n, which is what? Tell me. It is 6, yep, over 1 minus 1/3. Now, here's the beautiful thing about this problem. There are no variables in this thing. So I can just stick this in my calculator, but look right here. I have to input a parenthesis here, and I also have to input a parenthesis here. Everybody just look forward for 2 seconds, okay? Watch my pen. 27, parenthesis, parenthesis, 1 minus parenthesis, 1 divide 3, close parenthesis to the 6th, close parenthesis, divide parenthesis, 1 minus 1 divide 3, close it, enter. So you just follow the line is all you have to do. Okay, let's do it together now. Okay, 27, parenthesis, parenthesis, 1 minus parenthesis, 1 divide 3, close parenthesis, raise it to the 6th, close parenthesis, divided by parenthesis, 1 minus 1 divide 3, close it, enter, and I get a bad fraction. How do I turn this into a bad decimal? How do I turn it into a good fraction? Second PRB, enter. Now there's my answer. I know it's weird. This is what you get on your calculator. Okay? And that just means 40 and 4 over 9. That's all that means. Okay? Okay, question B, same idea. Find the sum of the first 10 terms. Okay? So my formula is, first of all, 3 times 2 is 6, and 6 times 2 is 12. So it's geometric. And I know that my ratio is 2. Formula for sum, S of n is equal to a, 1 minus r to the n over 1 minus r. I strongly recommend that you write down the generic formula before you do it so you don't mess up. So the sum of the first 10 terms is the first term, which is a 3, then do a bracket, 1 minus 2 to the 10th power over 1 minus 2. Okay? Now everybody stop right here for a second. Do I have to put the parentheses around the ratio at the top on this problem? You don't. It's when your ratio is a negative or when your ratio is a fraction. Okay? Would there be any harm in putting parentheses around it? No. So if I were you, I would just do it. Then I don't have to remember when I do and when I don't. Add parentheses around the top and parentheses around the bottom. Here we go. Everybody go 3, parenthesis, parenthesis. 1 minus parenthesis 2, close it, raise it to the 10th, close it, divide, parenthesis, 1 minus 2, close it, enter. Okay? And it ends up just being a regular number, and the answer is 3,069, and you're done. Okay? Who says I got it? This is easy. Okay. Example 6. It looks scary. It's not scary at all, I promise. Okay? Find the sum to summation of the first blank terms. How many terms are we finding the sum of? 6. You know that because it's right there. Okay? So, formula is, I know that this is geometric. The reason is because I have something raised to a power of n. Okay? So my ratio is going to be -1/2, and it's geometric. So it's going to be S sub n is equal to A times 1 minus r to the n over 1 minus r. There's something on the right hand of that equation that I do not know the value of. Look at those things. A's and r's and n's. What don't I know? I do know n. What's n? N is 6 because I'm finding 6 terms, right? What don't I know? The first term, right? How am I going to find it? Plug it in the formula is exactly right. So everybody go A sub n is equal to 12 times -1/2 to the 1 minus 1. Now, you guys are so smart. I wouldn't use a calculator on this. What's 1 minus 1? 0. What's a -1/2 to the 0? 1. What's 1 times 12? 12. So the first term, A sub 1, is 12. Now I can do it. The sum of the first 6 terms is 12 with a bracket, 1 minus parenthesis, -1/2, close it off, raise it to the 6th, all over 1 minus parenthesis, -1/2. You could also put 1 plus 1/2 if you want to. I'm just going to leave it like that. Parenthesis, 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 parenthesis. Here we go. 12, parenthesis, parenthesis. 1 minus parenthesis, -1 divide 2, close it, raise it to the 6th, close it. Divided by parenthesis, 1 minus parenthesis, -1 divide 2, close it, close it, close it, hit enter, and I get a decimal. So I'm going to hit second PRB, enter, and my answer is 7 7/8, and I'm done. Yes?
So if you see that the decimal like clearly ends, are you okay to write it in decimal, or do you want us to change?
I would try to convert it. I think they would rather you write it as a fraction. Yeah, good question. Yeah.
How did you know that that you needed to solve for A1 and it wasn't just 1 from because the beginning was 1 on the
I looked at what I needed to know, and I said, okay, I know my r is a -1/2. I know I'm finding 6 terms, so I know my n. Do I know what a is? I don't know the first term.
Is it the first term 1 though? Because you begin with 1 at the bottom of the summation and you
No.
end at the top.
The first term is this equation with a 1 put into it. Your value of n is a 1,
Okay.
but the term value is not 1.
Okay.
You okay? Okay. Geometric sequence, okay? Infinite geometric sequence, okay? Converging and diverging. Okay, everybody look at these 2 different groups of numbers, okay? 1, 2, 4, write this with me, 8, 16, 32, 64, 128, blah, 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 blah. What does the blah, 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 blah mean? Goes on how much longer? Forever. Okay. Can I add these numbers together? Is it even possible? Because they go on forever. So if I add this many, and then I look at the next guy, does the next guy change what I got when I added those together? Does the 256, which is the next number, change what I got when I added those first however many together? Yes or no? Does it change it? Yes. So then I add the 256. Then I do the next one, which is 316. Is that going to change it? Yes. And the sum is going to keep getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. I could never add all those numbers together because they keep going on forever and they're just getting bigger. So the sum keeps changing. So I can't add these together. Who says I get that? Okay. So on this problem right here, my ratio is 2. You have to compare 2 to the number 1. My ratio, which is a 2, is bigger than 1, which means this diverges. If it diverges, you can't find the sum. It's impossible. Another way to think of diverges is the numbers get larger. If the numbers get larger, I can't add those together. Okay? Okay, let's do this one. Check this out. 128, 64, 32, 16, 8, 4, 2, 1, blah, blah, blah. The next number after the 1 is going to be, can you tell me? 1/2. What's after 1/2? 1/4. Keep going. 1/8, 1/16, 1/32, 1/64, 1/128, blah, 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 blah. This is example 1. This is example 2. Can I add those together? If I add these together and I get my sum, then I add the next one. Does the next number change the sum? Yes. But what if I go really, 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 really far? And the next guy is 1 over like this big, big, big number. Is adding that number right there going to change my sum? Is it going to change it? It does change it. But does it change it very much? No. How much? Teeny, teeny bit. Teeny, teeny bit. Teeny, teeny bit. This number right here is almost equal to what? Tell me. Almost 0. So if you're there and you add something that's almost a 0, it's not going to change it. It's not going to change it profoundly. Okay? So can you do this one? Yeah, you can. Okay? The ratio on this problem right here, guys, is 1/2. And your ratio is less than 1. So it converges. Another way you can tell that it converges is the numbers get smaller. Okay, if the numbers are getting smaller, it's converging. What are the numbers converging upon? Converging means going to. What are they getting closer and closer to? Say it again. 0 is exactly right. Okay, good. So, if you're adding things together, and it's an infinite series, and it converges, then you use the formula. If it diverges, right here by diverges, put numbers get larger. Underneath converges, I want you to put numbers get smaller in the sequence. So if they're getting smaller, it converges. If they're getting larger, it diverges. Yes?
Wouldn't it, if it converges, would it like be a negative number?
This particular problem would not, because remember this is a sum, and I don't have any negative numbers. But could a sum be a negative? Sure. It depends on what the value of those numbers are to begin with. Okay? Let's do some problems and then we'll talk about it more. Okay? Okay, question 7. Decide if it converges or diverges. If it converges, find the sum. Okay? So, you guys, this is 2 over 1. Okay, actually, you know what? I'm going to go to this second loop right here. To figure out what I multiply by 4/3 to get 8/9, I just do it like this. What do I multiply by 4 to get 8? That's a 2. What do I multiply by 3 to get 9? 3. Do it again. is 8/9 times 2/3, 16/27. 8 times 2 is 16, 9 times 3 is 27, so it totally works. I avoided the first one because I was afraid it was going to freak you out. That's like 2/1. If you take 2/1 and multiply it by 2/3, do you get 4/9? Well, 2 times 2 is 4, 1 times 3 is 3, so it totally works. Okay, so this is geometric. But guys, here's the big kicker. It's infinite geometric. Do not do this. Everybody write this down. S of n is equal to a, 1 minus r to the n over 1 minus r. I want you to write it down, and then I want to put an x across it. Don't do that. That is not the right formula. Someone tell me why it's not the right formula. Because it's infinite. It's infinite. Dot, dot, dot. Right? This is for finite. Something that ends. This is infinite. Okay? You guys, this converges because my ratio is 2/3, so my ratio is less than 1. My numbers are getting smaller. So the formula is the sum of an infinite series is a, which is a 2, over 1 minus the ratio, which is 2/3. Put parentheses around the bottom and just stick it in your calculator. So go 2 divided by parenthesis, 1 minus 2 divided by 3, close it, enter. My answer is 6, and I'm done. So first you have to make sure you can find it. Then once you realize you can find it, then you have to put it in the calculator. Okay? You okay, Caden? Okay. Okay, look at the next one. Oops. Which formula do I use? A over 1 minus r, or S sub n is equal to a, 1 minus r to the n over 1 minus r. Which one? The first one or the second one? Why first one?
Because your ratio is
One little thing. Look right here. It's an infinite sequence. Okay? Now, can anybody in the room tell me what my ratio of this infinite sequence is? It is 1/3. Okay? So I'm going to write down that it converges because my ratio is less than 1. So my formula is the sum of an infinite series is a over 1 minus r. Okay? Bea, a stands for the first term. It doesn't mean that the value of the first term is 1. That is not 1. The value of n is 1. Or in this particular equation, the value of k is a 1. So I have to know that value of a. So I'm just going to take that I just highlighted right there, and I'm going to put a 1 in it. Yeah. So I'm going to go a sub 1 is 8 times 1/3 to the 1 minus 1. 1 minus 1 is a 0. 0 times 1/3 is a 1. 1 times 8 is an 8. My first term is an 8. Guess what? Your first term is always right there. So it's an 8 over 1 minus 1/3. Put parentheses around it. Stick it in. 8 divide parenthesis. 1 minus 1 divided by 3. Close it off. Enter. My answer is 12, and I'm done. Who says this is easy? I kind of feel like geometric is easier than arithmetic. Do you guys agree with that? Yeah. Yeah, I kind of feel that way. Okay, example 8. A statistician knows that a town has a population of 3,500 people, has a predicted growth rate of 6% for 20 years. What should she predict? I like this. What should she predict? Because statisticians are very smart, so it's a girl. What should she predict the population will be in 20 years? Okay. Okay. This is important. If it's a percentage, okay, then you know immediately that this is geometric. If they said something like this, you have 3,500 people, and every year the town increases by 500 people, that's arithmetic, because you're adding the same number every time. This is a percentage, so it's geometric, okay? What will the population be in 20 years? Everybody write this down. A sub n equals a times r to the n minus 1. Then put a 1 by it. Then do number 2. S sub n is equal to a, bracket, 1 minus r to the n over 1 minus r. Equation 3, sum of an infinite series is a over 1 minus r. Those have to be memorized by the final. They're on your formula sheet, okay? I have to figure out which formula I'm supposed to use to begin with, okay? So I start with 3,500. It's going to go up 6% each year for 20 years. What will she predict the population to be in 20 years? First of all, I know it's not infinite, right? Because they're saying 20 years, so I know it's not going to be that one. So is it 1 or is it 2? If you said 2, then this is what you're saying. You take the population of year 1, 3,500. You take the population of year 2, just say for ease of numbers it's 4,000. Then 4,500. Then 5,000. You're saying that the population in year 20 is to add the first year to the second year to the third year to the fourth year to the fifth year, and then, is that right? No, because you're counting people multiple times. So it is not equation 2, it's equation 1, okay? It's a specific year, okay? Now, everybody write down a sub 1 equals 3,500, pardon me. Then I want you to write down r equals. That's what I'm going to multiply by. 6% as a decimal is 0.06. So if I go 3,500 times 0.06, that means in the second year, my population is 210. It's growing. Is that right? What does the 210 stand for? The increase, right? And then we want to add it, right? We want to put plus, but we can't add because this is geometric. It's a ratio. What do I do, Jensen?
Put a 1 in front of the ratio.
You're exactly right. You put a 1 in front of the ratio. Now, Jensen, I want you to try to explain to everybody why you do that. What does the 1 do?
It like automatically adds the 3,500 to your 210.
Yeah, so the 1 times 3,500, that pulls in the 3,500. The 0.06 pulls in the 210. So then it puts them together, and I get 3,710, which is what I'm supposed to get. Okay, go 3,500 times 1.06, and you get 3,710. So here's what I want you to do. Highlight the word growth. Draw an arrow to it. Okay, if it's growing, not if it's decreasing, but if it's growing, okay, you're going to add a 1 point in front of the ratio. And let's just say r equals 1 point and then go blah, 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 blah. Because you have to show it's growing. You have to include the 3,500 in there. Who says, I understand what you're saying? Let me see. Okay, wonderful. Pause right there, okay? Yes, honey?
So would that basically be like your time by 106%?
Say it again.
So like that would basically be like your time limit by 106%?
Yes, that's a great way to think about it. Yeah, very good, honey. Okay, so here's my formula. Okay, so a sub 20 is the first year, which is 3,500, times the rate, which is 1.06, raised to the 20 minus 9, which is 20 minus 9, 1, which is 19. So it's 3,500 parenthesis, 1.06, close it off, raise it to the 19th, hit enter, and you get 10,500. We're going to round to the nearest whole, and we're going to say 90 people. 10,590 people. Okay? Who says I got it? Let me see. Okay. Example 9. This is a long one, and it's the last one. Okay? It's a little bit tough. There are a couple of these little pieces that are kind of tough. Suppose the motion of an object through a certain medium is such that it travels 90% as far as it did the preceding second. It moves 50 feet the first second. Everybody listen, here's a great analogy, okay? We're in the pool. I have a Nerf gun. I put the gun in the water and I shoot it. So the first second, it's going to go 50 feet. It's a really strong Nerf gun. 50 feet. Then what's going to happen during the second? Is it going to go faster or is it going to go slower? It's going to go slower because it's traveling through the water, right? So it's going to go slower, 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 slower. Okay? Okay. So everybody do this. Say a sub 1 is equal to 50. You guys just told me that the next second is going to be less, right? So my ratio is not going to be 1.9. 1.9 would make it grow, and it's supposed to be smaller. So it's just going to be 0.9. Okay? So the next one is 50 times 0.9, which is 45. And I could sit and list them out, but I don't need to. Okay? So how far will it travel in the 15th second? Do they want A, or do they want A sub n, A sub 15, or do they want S sub 15? In the 15th second, what is it? A sub n. Yep, A sub 15. So everybody write A sub n equals A times R to the n minus 1. So that's A sub 15 is the first second, which is 50, times the ratio, which is 0.9, raised to the 14th. So everybody go 50 parenthesis 0.9, close it, raise it to the 14th, and you get 11. Let's go 2 digits, 11.44. Okay, and the directions would tell you to round. You would never round unless they tell you, and this would be feet. Okay, read the second question. I'm going to put it right beside it, okay? How long will it travel during, how far will it travel during the first 15 seconds? That's from the beginning to the end of 15 seconds. What's that? Sum. And is it 1 over 1 minus r, or is it the other one? Which formula do I use?
1 over 1 minus.
Is it 1 over 1 minus r? No, it's not 1 over 1 minus r. Why not? Because they want you to stop at 15, right? Okay, so the formula is S of n equals A times 1 minus r to the n over 1 minus r. So I'm going to go the sum of the first 15 seconds is the first second, which is 50. 1 minus 0.9, I'll put it in parentheses, raised to the 15th over 1 minus 0.9. Add parentheses around the top and parentheses around the bottom and just stick it in your calculator. Okay, so go 50, parenthesis, parenthesis, 1 minus parenthesis, 0.9, close it, raise it to the 15th, close it, divided by parenthesis, 1 minus 0.9, close it, hit enter, and I get a crazy decimal. I'm going to hit second PRB, enter, and I still get a bad decimal. Do you get a crazy decimal that won't convert? Okay, so we're just going to say 2 digits on part B. So that would be 397.05, and that would be feet. Okay, who says I'm with you? Let me see how we're doing. Okay, great.
When do you convert it into the fraction using PRB rather than just leaving it as a decimal?
I wish it was a I wish it would go into a fraction, and it won't.
you
So always try, and if it doesn't, it doesn't.
So why
Okay.
didn't we do that to part A?
Because was A a decimal?
Yes.
We should have.
Okay.
Okay. How long will it travel in the nth second? Is that A sub n or S sub n? Which one is it? A sub n. So everybody go A sub n equals A times R to the n minus 1. What am I going to have in my answer? Talk to me. An n in my answer because it's the nth second. So it's A sub n is equal to the first second, which is 50, times the ratio, which is 0.9, raised to the n minus 1. That's your answer. That's all you do. Okay? Okay. Yes.
So when it tells you to like how far will it be in the nth second, you're basically just writing the formula that you would use, right?
You're exactly right. You're exactly right, Morgan. Very good. Okay, question D. How many seconds will pass before the object travels less than 15 feet? Okay. So I'm going to take how far it travels during a specific second, which is 50. This is part D. 50 times 0.9 to the n minus 1, and I'm going to set it equal to 15. So I'm going to find out when it is 15. And it's during a specific second. So understand the question. First is 50, then is 45, then is smaller, then is smaller, then is smaller. They're saying, how long does it go until after that, each second it travels less than 15 feet? That's what they're asking me. Who says I understand? Raise your hand, let me see. Okay, look at the equation I've got. Look at it. Don't shout for a second. Let everybody have a chance to think about it. Trying to solve for n, and my n is stuck up in the exponent. What are we going to have to do? You're going to have to convert it. Yes. Are we ready to convert it right now? No. Why not? Because of that 50, right? We're not stuck. So we have 0.9 to the n minus 1 is equal to 15 divided by 50 is 0.3. 0.3 exactly. Okay? So I'm going to leave it. Now I'm ready to convert it. So it'd be log base 0.9 of 0.3 is equal to n minus 1. Bring the 1 over, and you have n equals 1 plus log base 0.9 of 0.3. Now we're going to get a decimal. Okay, so everybody go 1 plus log 0.3, close it off, divided by log 0.9, close it off, enter, and you get 12.43. Now let's think about this. The question is, how many seconds will pass before the object travels less than 15 feet? The answer is not 12.43. Is it after the first second? Is it after the second? Is it after the third? Is it after the fourth? What's the answer? This is when it's going to be equal to. So when will it be less? Somebody tell me that. After 12.43. And how many seconds is the next unit after 12.43? 13. So you have to go to the next one. Okay? So the answer is going to be after 13 seconds. That's your answer, and we're done. I want you to look right here for just a second. Okay? This is going to help you understand this. See this equation right here? I want you to put a 12 in for n. This will tell us how many seconds it goes in the 12th second. Do this with me. 50, parenthesis, 0.9, close it, raise it to the parenthesis, 12 minus 1, close it off, enter, I get 15.69. So during the 12th second, does it travel less than 15? No. Now let's make it 13. So let's go 50, parenthesis, 0.9, close it, raise it to the 13 minus 1, which is 12, hit enter. Now it's less than 15. So during the 12th second, it's not there. It's during the 13th second that it actually is less than 15. Who says, I gotcha? Let me see. Okay, great. Okay, what else? E. And then we're done. How long before coming to rest? Okay, look right here. I'm going to be annoying on purpose. Okay, it's fun. 50 feet. 45 feet. Something smaller. 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 This is so annoying. Something smaller. Something smaller. Something smaller. What am I trying to tell you? Say it again. Say it loud. I can't hear you. It's an infinite. Keeps going a little bit and a little bit and a little bit and a little bit and a little bit. So it's infinite. Okay? Does it converge? Why does it converge? Your ratio, it's getting smaller. Your ratio is less than 1, right? So we're going to say converges because my ratio is less than 1. So the formula is sum of an infinite series is a over 1 minus r. So it's super simple. Sum of an infinite series, the first one, which is 50 over 1 minus 0.9. Put parentheses, 50 divided by parentheses, 1 minus 0.9, close it off, enter, and you get 500 feet. So all together, that Nerf bullet is going to travel 500 feet. We're done. Guess how many more lessons we have in this class? 1. And guess how difficult you're going to think that lesson is? It used to be tough, but I found a little trick, and my trick got approved by Weaver, so it's like 3 times easier.